Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. I am excited. We have a guest in the green room today. I'll just call him the guest that has two first names. How about that? He's an amazing guy, and we've just been riffing off camera. But everybody, before we get going here, I wanted to just make a couple announcements. This won't form part of the show because the spotlight will be on Craig Bruce today. I want to just talk about some things that I've talked about a bit before. The second book is out. This is a big deal for me, my co-author, Donna Setterland. I've written my second book. It's a follow-up, and it's based on brain hacks, easy skills to create happiness. What we're excited about is the book has 12 contributing writers who have given their stories, and it's fully illustrated. You can see how beautiful it is. Donna's out of California. She is a Disney classic style illustrator, and we spent 3 years on this, delayed through my brain injury, but it is something that you'll hear more about. Also, I've partnered up with my co-author, Donna, and we are bringing upwards of 50 books. Her collection, she's been writing and illustrating for a long time, and we've combined forces. We're writing new books that are fully illustrated with some of the stories that come through my radio show. In fact, we might even find one of our guests soon to be in one of these. But again, her work is just astonishing to me. She not only, I know you can see this on the camera, but she not only is a writer, but she's just brilliant. She's got a creative brain. And the last thing I wanted to just share is that the second book is really a takeoff to the first. And I've been down and out for a few years with the brain injury, but we're up to almost 200 reviews online for this book. The book was written as a business book, everyone, and it's a hybrid with stories. It really is something that changed my life and led to some of the work I'm doing now with this platform. So I want to do that shout out and say thank you to Donna for everything that she's doing and she's bringing to my life as we work together. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Boy, how did he come to me? He came through a connection, and this guy's got. If I drew a road map, it'd be here to here to here. I saw California, L.A., and just moved to Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage. He's got a couple dogs, Baskins and Baker. Get excited about that. But this man has a lot of depth behind his story. His name's Craig Bruce. He's a former burned-out global executive. And he struggled with exhaustion, poor sleep, inconsistent food choices, feeling confident in his own skin. When I'm reading that, does that sound like you? Is that a little bit if you're a traveling executive or just somebody who's trying to manage life? Do some of those things come up from time to time? He's so driven that his global lifestyle started to impact his health, and then the downward slide. You'll hear a bit about that in depth and what he did to actually turn it around. He's an international speaker, and he shared the stage with many notable people. But today it's really all about Craig Bruce. He was asking me up front on the show. He said, when you I first asked to be on your show, Tom, because I said to Craig, and I do this with all the guests, said, I almost said no. It's nothing about Craig, but I was looking at, okay, what's the deal here? So when he answered the question, everyone, what's your gut punch? What's your backstory? Because that's really what makes our guests relatable to, ordinary people. This is what he wrote. He said, for 25 years, I led the life of a busy global executive, 2.5 million miles on one airline and 1 million miles on another. I actually bragged about this status. Looking back, I was living, but I was not alive. Life was great until it wasn't. One day, my doctor ordered bed rest. And then you can fill in the blanks as we talk to him. That's why I love this guest and what makes him real and relatable, because there isn't one person out there that I know that doesn't deal with this pressure of life. And so let's bring on the show now. He's been patiently waiting. Craig Bruce, welcome, Craig.
Hey, Tom. It's great, man. I'm super excited about our conversation today and super honored and absolutely love what you do. Thank you for doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. So let's go right back to a few surprises on the show here. In researching you, Craig, I was quite amazed by a little nugget I found. So I'm going to put a picture up here and just show our audience. Who's that?
Oh my God, that's my parents, man. You are man, you're gonna make me cry. That's my parents, Bill and Carol Bruce.
Okay,
Oh
you can
my
cry.
God,
You can cry now.
Damn, they just celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary,
Wow.
and they are they are why I am who I am today. Partially, a lot of who I am today is because of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Powerful, Tom. Thank you for sharing that with your audience. They're
You're
amazing people.
you're welcome. I'm going to let you catch your get your breath there. Everybody, take a look at that. What do you think? Who's got the best? Was that mom and dad? Do you see him in there? I think. So the first thing I wanted to say is I always start off the show and we talk about, okay, tell me where it all began, the early years. When I came across that, 65 years, that doesn't happen very often, man. My parents made it to 32. Tell us about your childhood and growing up with those parents.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town in North Carolina and was blessed to be from a really good family. My dad was a savings and loan executive, and my mom early on was a stay at home mom because that's what you did back then. Then she later on had a very successful career in retail as a buyer. Growing up, I will say that I never really felt like I fit in. I didn't fit in with the girls because I wasn't a girl, and I didn't fit in with the guys because I wasn't a jock. And but yet I did really well. I graduated at the top of my class in high school, went to university of my choice,
Yeah.
and as I look back as to growing up in that environment, I had their constant support, although they were overprotective as hell. I was their first kid. And when and my youngest brother is 9 years younger than I, when, by the time he got to high school, the stuff he got to do, I'm like, why didn't you let me do that? And we have that conversation a lot,
Yeah.
and we joke about it. But it's because they love and cared me, and they wanted the best for me. But what I found as I looked back as to why I was so successful back then, it's because a couple of reasons. One is, while I didn't fit in, I found I focused on what I did best.
Yeah.
I found what I call today my superpowers, and I did it in community. I found my tribe along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that is so relevant to living this life that we're living today as a busy executive as well.
I just want to chime in there. Thank you for your integrity. I've been madly making some notes here on my paper. Everybody, these are teaching moments. We've got Craig Bruce here, and the teaching moments, we just showed a picture, a wonderful picture. We'll flash it up again. If you're on the podcast, you can't see this, but on the video, YouTube premium video we're going to do, that's a 65-year-old marriage there. And so we heard, I'm just going to play this back here because I'm finding some nuggets in my head here. That first of all, you didn't fit in, or that's what you felt. And I'm always fascinated how, at a younger year, and you and I are kind of the geeks of science, that in the first 25 years, I know the brain, all the circuitries laid down for the rules we live our life by. Don't have the frontal lobe as a kid. I found this interesting. It made me think about my wife. You said I wasn't a jock, but I was very successful. And it's an evocative question that who says that getting top grades and being top of class is success? Yeah. And yet who says being a jock is? My wife's Italian, but she would never have dated me in high school. I was the nerdy kid. It's funny. I think I just found my other brother from another mother because I felt I didn't fit in. Yeah. And what you're doing now is you're picking up a thread in my story and probably millions of children and youth out there. So I'm really interested. Your parents were very loving and looks like protective. So before we go to the next part of the journey, what do you think shaped you through those early experiences that were limitations but were also strengths? Is there anything that stands out?
Yeah, I remember, so my parents shaped me.
Yeah.
Having role models of parents that were in a loving, committed relationship, having a dad that was extremely successful as a business leader in the community, a mom who was there every step of the way. I mean, when we would, I was in the band and in choir, and when we would travel, she'd be up at 4 a.m. cooking our lunch, and I mean, just amazing. And so I think having amazing role models as parents, I think getting some form of religion, which taught me some values and principles.
Yeah.
My spirituality has evolved over time. I grew up, for those of you in the U.S., I grew up in the South in a Baptist church.
Ah.
And there were aspects of those principles that I don't embrace today. However, the fact of being a good person, connecting to a source that is higher than you, had I not had that teaching as a young kid, I wouldn't be the man that I am today.
Well, I just want to.
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig. You go ahead. I got something. I wrote it down here. I'll share that with you. But keep going.
And then I think the values that I live my life by today, as I look back, those were formed in my early years. And Tom, and that's what I love. I knew this was going to be a thought-provoking conversation for us, just because of your style, and I love it.
Thank you.
And I had never really, until now, just made that connection. So thank you for that connection, because I today am living my life, my best life now, through my top 4 values.
And what are they?
Connection to my source. You call it whatever you want. For me, it's a source. It's a higher source.
Yeah.
My health and wellness.
Yeah.
Long-term relationships. And I look back now, and I still have friends from high school that I'm in contact with.
Wow. I mean, that's not very common. I mean, you ask a lot of people.
No, I just spent the weekend with some college friends. Every year we go to the Final Four basketball tournament here in the States.
Yeah.
So long-term relationships. And then I will also say the 4th value is around diversity and inclusion. So if you're racist, if you're homophobic, if you're sexist, if you're misogynistic,
yeah.
I don't need that energy in my life.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah.
I want to jump in there and riff with you, because we're about storytelling. I love this. So the energy, the last little thing you just said triggered me, and it's, I don't want that energy in my life. That is so powerful. Everybody, that's a teaching moment, because for a long time in my life, Craig, there was this energy, and I still sometimes am drawn to people that bring me down or bring me in a space I don't want. And I think that's the brain looking for that old rush, the peptides that addicted me to that kind of situation.
Right.
I was thinking about this narrative that's unfolding here. So, everybody, this is not me projecting on Craig. This is my skill that I try to figure out the hero's journey as it unfolds. But here's a guy who grew up with wonderful parents. But you heard little nuggets there coming out of him, his story. You heard about, the brother, and the overprotective. How come I couldn't do things like that? These are important little neural nets that we're hearing coming out of your unconscious mind, that many people that I've learned through my own mistakes, Craig, we don't realize till later in life how much that manifests itself and controls our life. What I also love about is that, you top of class, extremely successful, but it didn't fit in, wasn't a jock. So the rules laid down, and you seem to be this way, that this is what I have to do, and maybe is that what I have to do to please mom and dad, or to make them notice me over brother, all these kind of things. Fascinating stuff, which is why I love you and your story. I want to show you this. You got my heart, because I don't usually bring in faith, but dude, I had no spirituality. I was baptized a Catholic when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I denied my faith, but when I had the brain injury and I was at my lowest, I turned to the good book, and I'll give it back to you on this because I want to ask you something about it. What I really found in that is that the book is really I can't say I met God, but Craig, the book is stories about how God was teaching people to live with kindness, with love.
Yeah.
And I'm a kid who didn't learn that in my childhood, and that created the biggest pain in relationships with people.
Right.
So I want to give it back to you on a question around this. What was the moment you found faith? Why? And how do you integrate that into your living? And then I guess one really provocative question is, do you think Christ had a coach?
Well,
So did
first of
Christ
all,
have a coach? And yeah,
So first of all, thank you for sharing that story. And thank you. I really that means a lot that you shared that with me
Thank
this
you.
morning. So thank you. I will say that growing up in the church that I did, I was always taught that, I'm gonna hear this voice,
yeah,
and I never heard it.
wow,
I just never heard it. And again, I thought, what's wrong with me?
interesting.
But I played the game because what that allowed me to do was to connect with my peeps, because I was involved in the youth program. I was involved in chorus, which we traveled the US. And that allowed me to really build on my superpowers. It wasn't until I think years later, fast forward, I'm in Chicago working for this management consulting firm, and someone introduced me to a community where it was all about diversity, inclusion, being the best person you are, connecting with a source. What you can call it whatever you want. And that began to resonate with me because I knew that there was something higher than I.
Yeah,
And that's again, and so today, years later, part of my morning ritual, the first thing I do before I get out of bed is connect to that source.
tell me
And I
more
also
about
ask myself,
that. Tell me more about that before you talk about what you ask yourself. How do you connect to that?
yeah. So
Source?
I connect through that through guided meditation. I am
Love
part
it.
of a community, and anyone can be part of the community because it's online. It's the
Yeah,
Agape Spiritual Center,
yeah,
founded by here in Los Angeles, founded by Michael Bernard Beckwith. And during COVID, they started Monday through Saturday actually having prayer sessions, meditation sessions. And I attend those, and it's all about just being quiet and listening to my body
yeah.
and listening to my thoughts,
That's
and
amazing.
also visioning
Yeah.
where I want to be.
I love that. You're preaching to the, no pun intended, preaching to the
Pun
choir because
intended.
everybody, we're here with Craig Bruce, and he's talking about his journey through growing up into executive life and then hitting the wall of burnout and then coming through that with discoveries. We'll get into more of that in detail. But this thing about meditation, I just want to share this quick story that when I had the brain injury, I was at a neuroplasticity clinic, and they had me do 2 full 20-minute meditations a day.
Yeah.
And I realized the power of that, bringing the brain waves down to almost an alpha state, the slowest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just bizarre what you can connect to. I really like that spiritual connection, and thank you. For all of those out there who haven't found the thread of faith in your journey, I just want to say, read books like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. He talks about, faith in a different way, but gosh, when you can just check it out. Turn to someone who, like Craig, give him a call and get him to help you understand how he brings that element into his story. All right, let's get into the next chapter of the story. So we came through the childhood, we're kind of here, and then you get into this consulting career. I think it's Hewitt Associates, who are no longer now. They were merged, and you left 25 years. Tell us about that chapter, what you want to, but how that led to the B word.
Yeah, the B word. And you know what? I got to tell you, I am sharing stuff today. You're bringing stuff out in me, and man,
Let's keep going.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And I love sharing this stuff. I mean, imagine, and I know you can imagine, imagine that you're boarding your last flight home or your return flight home, and it's been a 15-hour day, and you probably have another 3 to 4 more hours before your head hits the pillow. And as my Southern grandma would say, and for those of you, I was sick as a dog, you know?
Wow.
And I get settled into my window seat, and the flight attendant approaches me, and I think she's going to ask me what I want to drink. But Tom, instead, she leaned over and said to me, "You look horrible."
Truth.
And that was
by the way,
shocking.
what did that make you feel in that moment? Do you remember?
Well, I'll tell you. I turned and began to stare at my face in that airplane window because I could see my reflection, and tears welled up. And I just said to myself, "Craig, you're a grown man crying in public. Stop it. Your life sucks."
Wow.
But here's the interesting thing. To everybody else, Tom, I was killing it. Man, I was killing it. But you know what? The truth was I was killing myself.
All right. Let's just catch a breath there for a minute. Everybody, teaching moment. Well, we're going to honor Craig for saying something that many people are going through or have gone through, but will not say. Craig, thank you so much for that. I can just capture that image in my mind, everybody being on an airplane and looking into the reflection of the window where he sees his eyes welling up. By the way, the same kind of well up, but a different kind of meaning when we put up the pictures of your parents who are married 65 years. You are a man who has humility because you can show emotion. I love that about you. I was in an executive career, and I know what that feels like. I want to ask you this, I use the term success chaser. What was driving you for 25 years to do that 15, 18-hour days? And in that moment when you realize, when somebody says to you, the airplane attendant, you look sick. How did that change you? What happened? What did you do next?
Yeah. What was driving me was the fact that I was addicted to success. I was addicted to being around successful people and the way that made me feel. Because remember, very early on, I didn't feel like I fit in.
A clue.
Make the connection there, my friend.
Yeah.
And I would work because I would get acknowledged and I was fitting in.
Yeah.
And also, I was getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah, money matters until you lose it all or something happens. So I just want to jump in there. So defining, basically, a lot of men just that I've interviewed define themselves on success, on their careers.
Yeah.
I did a fair amount of studying of the dopamine system, which is the source of motivation. I think you'll tell us a bit about science as well. And I'll tell you the truth why I was addicted to success, because I had the same kind of wake-up call that I learned through my own self-development, Craig, that I was really seeking for the approval of my dad, the connection that I never got, because he was a violent alcoholic and I was homeless when I was about 12. Yeah. I was the same. People on the outside were saying, and I know a lot of executives, that's why you're blessing us with your story. A lot of people say, wow, man, look at that Craig guy. He's like winning awards. He's killing it. He's crushing it. He's getting paid well. And on the outside, but on the inside, you're melting into this emotional puddle from what we're hearing. I believe, and I'll give it back to you with an evocative question, that when we hit the wall, we hear this call to adventure, to go and do something different because there's too much pain. Sounds to me like that was your moment. And so let's take us into the turn from there. I want to just talk about your website for a minute, which I just want to share a screen here, so just bear with me. We'll tidy this up in the production. So just let's see if I can get this on the screen here. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Just going to share the. All right, everybody, with Craig Bruce here, we're in the studio. I'm just pulling up a way to share a screen here online. So, Craig, while I'm doing this, just talk to us about from that moment, and then I think the career at the consulting company came to a close for you. Yeah. Where did you go with all that? What turned you into this path of helping other people?
Yeah, well, the very next day after that flight attendant made this grown man cry in public, I landed in my doctor's office and she ordered bed rest. But Tom, you know what my version of bed rest was?
I can tell us.
It was my laptop, my cell phone, and conference calls from my bed.
Oh my goodness, you bad boy!
Totally, and honestly, it was in that moment that I knew that my current lifestyle had become my new normal.
Yeah.
And I want to repeat that because I know that there are lots of high performing business leaders out there that are in the same situation.
Yeah.
Their current lifestyle has become their new normal. A fish doesn't know it's in water until it's not.
Ooh, I like that.
And I'm not saying you have to take the route that I did and retire and then start a second career.
Yeah.
However, what I am saying is that you can continue to achieve even more success in your career without sacrificing your life and key relationships.
That's amazing. I've got this website now. I'm just going to pull it up, so we're going to take a look at this. That's pretty cool. So this is actually, everybody, is his Craig's website, and it just blew me away when I saw that word limitless, and I started thinking about what attracts me to this website. Well, when I was a workaholic and high performing exec, that limitless word was what was in me. But then I scroll down on your website and I see there's a lot more to it, and your limitless is talking about much more. So let's get into that. What's the transformation that you made, and how do you help people with the programs that you teach?
Yeah, such a great question, and thanks. The transformation that I made was I then left the consulting firm and went back to school to get into health and wellness.
Yeah.
And started to work for I left Chicago, moved to Los Angeles because I needed warm weather, couldn't take the winters anymore.
Don't blame you.
and started to work for an amazing organization, Equinox.
Yeah.
High-end health and lifestyle organization here in Los Angeles. And I was coaching people like me.
What do you mean by high end? Do you mean that they're catering to clients who are mostly the high income earners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after 4 years, I said, I don't need a boss. And I started my own firm, and that's when I founded Evolve Health and Lifestyle. And what we're doing, my team and I, what we're doing every day is we're empowering, and I love that word, empowering, high-performing business leaders to achieve even more success in their career without sacrificing the things they've had to sacrifice along the way, parts of their life and key relationships.
Yeah.
So that they're living their best life now.
I love that. Everybody, you need to connect. I'm just going to put the website up again here. Connect with Craig. There's the website we got on the stock ticker. And I noticed on your homepage there's a way to get a hold of you. I just want to share something. We're live and we have people who are chiming in with feedback. This is somebody from LinkedIn who just wrote this. A fish doesn't know it's in water until it isn't. Mic drop.
Thanks,
Thank
Leslie.
You. Yeah, that's awesome. And so, we got some fans out there already who are chiming in. Let's go back and everybody, the hero's journey narrative that's evolving here is here's a guy who grew up, parents 65 years married just this year. Had examples of what success looks like, had a brother, and went through that usual competition with siblings, comes into his own right, gets into high executive work, goes through the journey of, I hate to say it, what most executives do, which is a meat grinder of time and space, and finds himself in a hospital bed, takes a full turn and starts working with high-end or high-level executives to teach them about the new life that he's created through that adversity. They say diamonds are created by pressure, and I really love the fact that you are taking your own story, because I think you're relatable, Craig. If I want to find somebody who's going to coach me, and I'm a high level executive, I'm grinding away, I'm not telling people I'm dying inside. I want a guy who's been down that journey before and actually turned the corner. Take us into a few things about the work you're doing. I noticed on your website there was a free downloadable thing, and just there's some nuggets, but anything you want to tell us about that?
I would say here's why I know the world needs what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share a couple of statistics. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
In a recent global study of 15,000 leaders around the world, in about 2,000 organizations, Tom, 60% of those leaders reported that they feel washed up by the end of the day.
60%. Oh my goodness.
60%.
Wow.
Something's broken, isn't it?
Yeah. Holy smokes.
I also, and this I just found this study, and I haven't delved into it, but I know because it was published in Fortune that it's a reputable, that 53% of women reported that they feel lonely at work. And 30% of senior level women say they feel as if they don't have anybody to talk to about work. And 2/3 of the women in this study also said that work combined with their home responsibilities is causing burnout, overwhelm, and stress.
Oh,
and
those
we
are
also know that it's exacerbated for women of color.
That's interesting. Those are staggering numbers. So tell us what you would advise those women. What things would they do to work through that?
Yeah, and so it's for me. Yes, I would say one. It's about clearly defining who you are and who you want to be and how you want to show up every day. And let me take a step back.
Yeah.
What I have found in coaching hundreds of high-performing business leaders, and not necessarily C-suite, just high-performing business leaders, is that there are 3 areas to focus on that will move you in the direction of continuing to achieve that success, but also finding time for you and the relationships. And those 3 areas are, and I'll tell you the 3 areas, and then we can talk about them if you want to go down that route.
Absolutely.
The first area is consciousness, and most people think about that as mindset. I think it's a higher level of mindset, of understanding who you are, how you want to be. That's the first area. Second area is lifestyle. And lifestyle is the choices, the decisions that you make daily that support your health, wellness, and most importantly, your longevity.
Sure.
And here's the third one that most people don't really think about is community. So consciousness, lifestyle, and community are the three areas that, as I'm working with these high-performing business leaders, that we focus on.
I'm just making notes madly here. So consciousness, lifestyle, community. Tell us a bit about consciousness. Define that? What are you talking about?
For me, consciousness, and I tend to simplify things.
Please. You're talking to us, as I was once called in school, a simpleton.
yeah, man, you're more than a simpleton. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Consciousness is who you're being and how you show up every day.
Wow.
And let's get clear. And it involves three areas. First area is growth. So having a growth mindset. Not an issue with most of the people I work with.
Yep.
Second is clarity. It's getting clear on who you are and who you want to be. And then the third aspect of consciousness is intention. One of my mentors here, I mentioned his name earlier, Michael Bernard Beckwith at the Agape Spiritual Center, and he's all over. He's been in The Secret. He's been on Oprah. Just an amazing, transformational person. With regard to intention, I love this quote. He says, "With intention comes clarity. Without intention, you have default."
That's powerful. Everybody, teaching moment. With intention comes clarity. Without intention comes default. What's an example of intention? Something you might do in your day.
Yeah. So for me, and we build intentionality into morning rituals and evening rituals, which is also part of lifestyle.
That's cool.
So here's an example of intentionality. And I'll just share with you my morning ritual. My morning ritual is before, I'm up by 5 a.m., 5:30, don't really need an alarm. Before I get out of bed, we talked about, I connect to my source. Then I have two dogs that are sitting there waiting for me, and I have to take care of them.
You got to tell us the names again. Come on.
Baskins and Baker, and those are family names. Those are my kids.
All right.
So I'm very intentional about how I start my day. I drink water, I hydrate before I caffeinate. There's all kinds of science as to why we want to do that. I'm very intentional about getting some morning sunlight because it resets my circadian rhythm, boosts my cortisol, which is my stress hormone, and also it keeps me energized. And I also, because I take my shoes off and walk in the backyard and get connected to the earth.
Okay, I gotta just tell you, you got to talk about Palm Springs, man, because we were just talking offline. I mean, bring that into this little piece you're doing here, because I think everybody would want to come and have that.
Yeah, I just moved from Los Angeles to Rancho Mirage, which is a bit south of Palm Springs, and it's actually it was part of my plan. So again, being very intentional about who I am and how I show up and how I'm going to live my life through my values. That's, Tom, and you can see I'm passionate about this. That's Absolutely. What intentionality is.
Yeah, I see. First of all, everybody, teaching moment, intentionality. We'll come back to the show. Watch this clip. We're with Craig Bruce, and he's teaching us something here. Look at the passion when he said what he said, the inflection in his voice, his body language, just that energy. I just want to mention that before the show we were talking about Rancho Mirage. And man, you were explaining about how the mornings you start with bare feet and you're walking out. And I'm thinking like, dude, you just gave us a gift there. It's like, why don't we all start out with creating that future vision of the life we want? Not necessarily the life our parents or some influencers in business said let's start with that and let's build that life. And so I'm just reading my notes here. You know, he's got on his website, Limitless, being intentional. And this thing about I want you to just help us understand something quickly.
Yeah.
Connecting to my higher source before I get out of bed. How do you do that? What are you physically doing? Are you having a mind talk with, your higher source or what?
Yeah, again, it's that guided spirituality. It's that guided prayer meditation,
Yeah.
and then it's getting focused. It's getting and as part of that, I ask myself three questions every morning. Question number one is, how am I going to show up today?
Right.
Again, intentionality.
Yeah.
Number two is, what 2 or 3 things, actions do I need to take that are going to move me forward in my life and in my business? And then the third question, and I just drew a blank. There's a third question I ask, and
That's all right. There's a really cool downloadable free giveaway thingy on your website that I'm going to pump up a bit.
Yeah.
That has some of that in it.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun with this and go back to when you were this grinding executive. Tell me
Yeah.
what the first hour of the day would look like when all this stuff didn't exist.
Yeah. So the
What would
first
you do?
hour of the day, the first hour, that's such a great question. That's why I love talking with you. Is you're bringing in a perspective that a lot of podcasters, haven't. I just love it. So thank you for that question.
You're welcome.
Well, first of all, the night before, I would have fallen asleep on the sofa and probably woken up at 1 or 2 a.m. and then gone to bed. The absolute wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
So I didn't set myself up the night before for success the next day. That's part of the conversation I'm having with my clients, and we create an evening ritual.
Cool.
So back then, the alarm would have gone off. I wouldn't have gotten my 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I would have crawled out of bed, most likely gone to the gym, not taken any time to kind of think about my day, my connection to my source, and I would have just jumped into the day. All right? And so I wasn't setting myself up for success.
Yeah.
I was living on other people's terms.
Yeah. So what a lot of people do, a lot of these guys, especially I saw this a lot when I traveled, Craig, like you did, landing in in America somewhere, because I traveled across Canada, US in my executive work. You see, the gym's full, you see the bars full, and it's almost like we're addicted to that adrenaline or to that, dopamine rush of go, 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 go. No. We're not going to meditate or connect to our higher source first thing in the morning to calm our nervous system, to get us reset for success that way. We have to be doing something. We have to read our emails. We have to read the newspaper. We have to do. The biggest thing about sleep, dude, that really blew my mind is I got this out of a book called Why We Sleep, actually.
Yeah.
That I didn't realize until I got the brain injury and went through this, that short-term memory transfers to long-term memory during REM sleep. All this. And I'm thinking like, man, like I grew up with so many mentors as a young executive, like 31 is when I got up there to that level, who are like, oh, you got first one in the office. You got to be, 4 or 5 hours sleep. Who needs 8 hours? And the impact that has, which you're teaching us now, on just the extension of your life is dramatic, right?
Yeah. And I love that you bring in that science, and that is such a great book. It is. It's one of the key sources that I use. Women, listen. All right. We know that when we get into deep sleep and REM sleep, primarily REM sleep, is that there's a process in the brain, the glymphatic system, that actually flushes out the proteins and the toxins in our brain. When we don't get into that REM sleep and that process doesn't work, those toxins stay in our brain and build up. And those have been linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. Guess who's 2 times more likely to have dementia and Alzheimer's?
Women. That's crazy, man. Oh my goodness. Just that one nugget is worth coming back again and again. Speaking of women, I want to just put this on the screen. Here's a woman. She's talking to you. That's my wife, Anna, actually. And she's
Anna, hi. Hello.
thought
Thank
provoking,
you.
much needed in the business world. Anna is a career banker, by the way. That's where we
Yeah.
met. But she's seen me as a C-level guy going through that same experience, falling asleep on the couch, not getting sleep. This
And
thing
I think
about
you guys, how long? You guys, I think you guys have been married. How long? 26 years? Did
it'll
I
be
hear that somewhere?
close. It'll be 28 in January.
Okay. I must have been listening to an older podcast. Congratulations.
Thank you. And that's why I have such admiration for your parents, that 65-year photo, because it hasn't been a straight line up. I mean, we cannot walk through the door without being competitive.
Yeah.
There's been times in our marriage where we weren't sure whether we would finish the journey because, we're opposite personalities. But the interesting thing is when we both started listening to guys like you and turning to looking after ourselves, learning about how to care for the brain, care for the soul, care for the body, bringing some faith in there, we became stronger, better people.
I love it.
And back to my childhood, or back to most of it, I'd say 90% of the youth who come out into the world to run the world don't get that kind of development. And we love our parents. I just want to say this to honor yours and mine, that we love them. They did the best with what they had,
Yeah.
Craig.
Yeah.
But the world's changed, and the type of learning and education, even about sleep and all that, wasn't taught to them. Let's go to one thing I want to share on the screen here as we're getting close to the end of this today. You see that cool little thing there? lots of little surprises today. So this, tell us what this is we're looking at, man.
Yeah. So this is a complimentary downloadable file that I put together. It's my 3 secrets to ignite you and live limitlessly now. And so everything that I've talked about today and shared with your viewers and listeners, you can get this download, and it'll walk you through the 3 secrets that I have found that
Well,
will change your life.
everybody loves an author. You're an author when you publish a piece, and everybody loves the author to talk. It's like going to a book reading. So I know it's small on the screen here, but read a few off this one that I've highlighted. Protect your sleep with a bedtime routine. Just read out of 3 of them.
Yeah. We know that from science that there are some best practices around creating a bedtime ritual. I actually have changed that word ritual from routine to ritual. And one is, go to bed at the same time every day or close to it, because our body loves the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, put down these dang electronics.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
laptop. What are most and shut off the TV. What are most of us doing right up until the time we go to bed? We're either on our laptop, we're checking our emails, we're checking social media, we're watching TV. The absolute wrong thing to do to get quality sleep. So for at least, let's begin with 30 minutes. Shut down your electronics. And there's all kinds of science as to why that impacts the quality of your sleep. And then the third, and this is one, Tom, that I didn't realize at the time when I was working, but most afternoons I'd go down to, around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I'd go down to Starbucks in our building, and I would get I don't drink coffee, but I'd get a green tea or a black tea.
Yep. Still caffeine in those.
Still caffeine. The absolute wrong thing to do, because what that caffeine does is it blocks a neurotransmitter that promotes sleep in your body. And the half-life, meaning the time that caffeine stays in your body, is up to 6 and maybe even 8 hours. And it was impacting the quality of the sleep. That's why I couldn't get good quality sleep. That's why I would wake up tired the next morning. So end your caffeine by 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Those are some of the tips. And they're all science-based.
Yeah. I just got to say, teaching moments, everybody. What we're here with Craig Bruce, and he's also the author of this free downloadable, call it a mini ebook, and we're looking at it with his rituals about starting the day off, ending the day off. And again, this came out of his journey through high executive career leading to burnout and his own health issues, and then rebounding into something that's amazing with life. But you look at these things here. It's very succinct. It's very easy. I'm going to do a shout out here, everyone, to go to his website. You see it on the stock ticker. If you're on the podcast, you'll hear me saying evolvehealthandlifestyle.com. Go there and, put in your email. You honor him so he can connect to you. You can always unsubscribe later, but you get something if you give. Take this, and I'll tell you, if you shrink this down, everyone, put it on your little take photographs on your phone and apply some of it. I think it's going to change in some way. I want to talk about this last one with you, Craig, and it's on screen there. Improve your digestive process and nutrient absorption. I'm going to tell my wife, take note here. Anna's amazing. My wife's Italian. We have an espresso machine to talk about coffee. Ooh. And we've gotten into that 1 cup in the morning and that's it. But this is really important, mindful meals and things. I've heard about this and started learning. Tell us more about what you're saying here.
Yeah. What I'm saying here is that how do most of us eat our meals? We're eating them in front of the TV. Mm-hmm. We're eating them in front of our computer, our lunch. I remember when I was consulting, I'd go down to the cafeteria and I'd get an amazing healthy lunch, salad with a lean protein and lots of veggies. And I'd come back and I'd jump on conference calls, and 30 minutes later, I'd look down and my salad was gone.
Wow.
The absolute wrong thing to do.
Yep.
Because we know that we know that up to 20% of the digestive process actually begins before food hits your stomach.
Interesting.
So if we can eat slowly, chew thoroughly, and without distractions, we increase the probability that we're going to actually absorb the nutrients into our body. I also think it's important that we eat whole foods, organic, if that's within your budget, and not processed food. Processed food is full of sugar, and we know what sugar. We know what sugar does to our bodies.
I think when I grew up, I had this big picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger on my door in my parents' house, my room, and he called it White Death, sugar and flour. Man,
dude, I grew up where Krispy Kreme donuts, 30 minutes from where they were founded.
Double
and I remember, we didn't know any better. On Sunday after church, we'd drive down to Krispy Kreme and order and get a couple dozen donuts. We'd bring them home, and that's what I would eat for breakfast.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how many people who aren't Americans know about these, but there's something special about how they make them. Just tell everybody, because I think you know it.
Yeah, they're just, Krispy Kreme are the best donuts in the world. They glaze them. They're just, I don't know. They got a special sauce in there that they're addictive. But anyway, don't do those anymore. But
you need a defibrillator. I'll tell you, so part of my travels took me to Atlanta, Georgia regularly. I had a board of directors in Baltimore and the sister company there when I was CEO up here.
Yeah.
And everybody, this is just blow your mind stupid. Krispy Kreme double fries their donuts. So you make it, take it out. Oh, and we'll put it back in again for another round. You might as well take your heart and fry it and then just put some icing on it. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. So I want to just say this about that thing that you gave out, the freebie. Everybody get that, but it's so well done. I want to say thank you for that, Craig.
Sure.
You've boiled down probably a decade of research into a routine that we can apply. I want to, as we move to honoring you with a few things, give it to you on this note that everybody, here's a man who gets it, who went through a successful, in his words, long career You know, his brain wasn't built for go, go, go all the time. His body wasn't built for the way he was beating it up. But he decided to do something about it and learn, and now he's back as a shaman, guide, whatever you call him, teaching and helping everybody. I love this man's approach. And so leave us with one word of wisdom, anything at all you want to say to people who might be listening to this going like, my goodness, my life's out of control right now. I can't sleep properly. I just don't know if I'm where I want to be.
Yeah. So a couple of things come to mind. One is, and this is my number one secret to actually taking back control and living your best life now. And we suck at it. My number one secret is to set boundaries, and we suck at it. And I'm going to use the word rather than boundaries because many people react negatively to boundaries. Begin to set rules of engagement.
Okay.
Put very simply, rules of engagement are your way of communicating to others how to interact with you and you to interact with them.
I like that. That is such a teaching moment. Set boundaries or rules of engagement, which is maybe a more positive way. What's really interesting is when I went through that stage of my life, and this goes back 15 years, that I made a decision. I always called myself a frequent flyer, not a frequent father. And I orphaned my daughter for 5 years, Craig, and it's the biggest regret. She's 24 in university now across the country, and I love her.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself that if I could redo it over and over again, I wouldn't want to work in the evenings. I wouldn't want to work on the weekends. And so I created a lifestyle and I need to work on it more and follow your teachings here. But those boundaries are slipping. I'm involved in some things now where people want to meet all in the evenings and it's a different crowd and different world. And I think what you've given us there as a last nugget is that, and I'm just going to say it this way, that every situation I find myself in is a direct result of the decisions I make. And you've really helped me to be able to walk away from this show and re-examine those boundaries. And that's a takeaway for me. So thank you for that.
Good.
We want to honor you with a couple things as we move to wrap up. I don't know if you know about this, but we do some pretty funky things on the show here. By the way, I want to put up another image. Who's that handsome guy? You still got the coiffed hair. I'm jealous. Where did that come from? I got to come down and spend some time with you. I will come down. Yeah, we're connected for life now for sure. And I wanted to put something up here on the screen. I'm going to share this one. I'm going to try and get it a little bit bigger. So let me see if I can.
Wow. I love it. I can see it. Perfect. It's gorgeous.
That they're doing something with some pain in their life that they've turned into a purpose. So these are in 17 countries now, and you're now connected to a community of warriors. So welcome.
Thank you.
And the other thing I want to do is I want to honor you with just a few leadership words. I write these down as I'm speaking. So let's try to see if I can get this to show on the screen here. Yeah, I've got my paper you see here. So the first one is limitless. You are limitless, man. And number two is intentional. You are intentional. From everything you talk about, and even you explained to me up front about what you're doing with your life, moving to where you live, amazing. Your diversity, and I say diversity from diversity of thought, and you have a really nice way about you of connecting thought to stories, which then triggers me to have the same deep thoughts. Your connection, going out and doing these type of interviews and things is work. I appreciate that. You're involved in a group, Every Man. I appreciate that. And you're giving us something there. And then the last one is health and wellness. You just look healthy and you sound healthy. So, if I come and see you, I'll bring you a box of Krispy Kreme and donuts. Try to knock you back to your senses there for a minute. What we're going to do is really give it to you for the last word. So where people can get a hold of you, anything at all. I'm just going to put up another triple hearts here. We're getting some feedback from one of your fans. So
wow,
last word to you.
Yeah, last word to me is I want everyone to remember it's about progress, not perfection, and small hinges swing big doors.
Say that last part again, that last quote. Small hinges swing.
Small hinges swing big doors.
Wow, that's pretty insightful. Like just writing that down on my paper. So everybody, we're going to say bye to Craig Bruce now. Craig, you'll have to come back again and share more of your wisdom. And there's more stories to tell. Everybody, please get a hold of Craig. Go to evolvehealthandlifestyle.com. Download his free ebook. It's full of nuggets you can apply right away. And again, thanks for being on the show. It was just an absolute amazing storytelling with you, Craig. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Right. You're amazing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca